Hello, everyone. All the students, a warm good afternoon. I don't know if it's raining in your part of the country, but I just believe that today it's the warmth that the Vikasa has brought for you. We are starting again with the immensely popular training sessions that we used to conduct earlier, and we are back after we got to know all our offices and all of us are in functional mode in entirety. I'm C. Arpit Kabra, Regional Council Member of WIRC, and I welcome all of you to this fantastic series of these training sessions that we are gonna held from 2 to 4 on every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Unless, of course, there are some changes, or unless, of course, there are some exceptions. But we will be doing this regularly on Monday, Wednesday, Friday on various topics, including GST, including income tax, including tally, Excel, whatever. And should you want a particular training session in your own way, in wherever you are, whichever office that you work from, and if you need any assistance, you can see two smart, young, talented people with me over here. Garv Kejriwal, the Vice Chairman of Vikasa, and Divyansh Mittal, another very, very strong Vikasa and a very passionate Vikasa member who are working round the clock for the benefit of students, along with the entire 12-member team and all the Vikasa branches across the Western region as well. Today we also have Sunilji Sharma, who's the speaker, our personality who has defined a lot of positivity in terms of how to tackle this menace of GST. इतना डायनेमिक है ये GST कि हम लोग जितना सोचें, जब सोचें वो हमेशा चेंज होता रहता है. So I think today, if someone who is ready to speak on GST and especially return filing and reconciliation, I think really it's a huge, big achievement actually to come to comprehend everything and present in a very strict 2 hour fashion manner, so that we can understand. Also, we can implement it practically in our offices. Our the WRC and the Vikasa's entire role today is to ensure that irrespective of wherever we are, whichever location, let's optimize the technology and let's train each and everyone, irrespective of whether they have the exposure in their office or not. But here, with the speakers that you are getting, you will get to learn and understand every little nuances of what is happening in a ordinary or in a maybe highly exposed office in that field. So welcome all of you. Quick, a piece of advice is always sit with a pen and a paper, whatever is being happening. So all of these recordings will be available, but in order to follow the speaker today, I'll request all of you to please sit with a paper, pen, or a pencil and keep noting down. Plus, you must be on mobile, you must be on laptop, you must be on a computer, wherever you are. There is a function called as screenshots. Keep टेकिंग दो स्क्रीनशॉट. अगर कोई स्लाइड आपको पसंद आया, कोई स्लाइड पे आपने जो स्पीकर बोल रहे हैं, फॉर एवरी ऑल ऑफ अस, लाइक गर्व जो सुन रहा है, दिव्यांश जो सुन रहा है, मैं जो सुन रहा हूँ, वी ऑल हैव डिफरेंट अंडरस्टैंडिंग, वी हैव डिफरेंट इश्यूज. पर सुनील जी जो बोल रहे हैं, इफ दैट अपील्स टू मी समटाइम्स, that may not be relevant for Garv or Divyansh, but it is relevant for me. So immediately take a screenshot and save it for your own self. क्योंकि ये चाह के भी आप बाद में रिक्रिएट नहीं कर पाओगे. जो भी आप सुन रहे हो, जो भी आप अंडरस्टैंड कर रहे हो, प्लीज ट्राई एंड पुट दैट इन कॉन्टेक्स्ट. Therefore, these 2 hours can be the most maximum output thing for you in a day, and we want to make sure that you do this entirely very effectively. I also welcome all the other Vikasa members who are here in the conference with us, and their efforts in putting all of this is really appreciable and worthy of an applause. We'll find out them more and more. But let's begin today's session. I would now request Divyansh to please introduce our speaker for the session. Over to you,
Firstly,
Divyansh.
yeah. Good morning, everybody. Good afternoon, everybody. Firstly, I would like to thank Vikasa and Arpit sir for giving me this opportunity. Continuing forward, Mr. Sunil Sharma is a fellow chartered accountant of ICI and qualified in November 2009. He is in practice since 2013 and is managing partner of SWM and Associates Chartered Accountants. He has taken various sessions for students of ICI on GST registration, returns, input tax credits, and book of accounts and records. He has also delivered sessions on various topics of bank audit and has also contributed an article in annual publication of WIRC on bank audits. He has also completed the following certificate courses of ICI, like DISA, certificate course of concurrent audit of bank, certified course of valuation, certificate course of Ind AS. Also, he is pursuing a 1 year management program of IIM Ahmedabad currently. So now I would like to invite Sunil Sharma sir for taking forward.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Divyansh.
Divyansh.
And welcome, Sunilji. Already we have asked questions. So, before we start, this is a new series and new session altogether. So, Sunilji, you are our opening batsman, just like Rohit Sharma is. So, we are expecting a century from you. And believe me, the first bouncer has already come for you. Sparsh Mittal has already asked the question. So, we'll take the questions. So, friends, please keep posting your questions through the chat box or the questions box. Speaker जब बोलेंगे, all of us will switch off our cameras, but we are all there in the background. Sunil ji, we are just a shout away. And Mishra ji, who is our logistic expert, who is handling the entire platform, is always there on the background. कहीं पर भी आपको कुछ भी जरूरत पड़े, please give us a shout and we'll be here. Also, remember, if at all you believe कि कहीं पर आपकी आवाज कहीं कट रही हो, तो you can switch off your webcam for some time so that the data is again regained and then you can start communicating again. Also, please share your PPT if you have any right now, or you can share your screen so that we are all set to go on this GST session. Right?
Yeah.
All right. Over to you, Sunilji. Thank you.
Thank you, Arpit Kavraji, the respected regional council member, and Divyansh and the entire team of Vikasa for having me here. I'll try my best to cover the returns aspect and the practical aspects of it. And let me, without wasting time, start with the presentation. So what are we gonna cover in our today's session? So obviously, the returns is the basic theme of this
Sunil sir,
session.
PPT share करिए ना.
Returns.
Sunil sir, PPT share करिए ना sir.
Are you visible now? Is it visible now? Yeah.
Yes sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Good
sir.
to go. Good to go,
Yeah.
sir. Good.
Yeah. So what are we going to cover in our today's session? So yes, the theme of the session itself is returns. So yes, we will be covering certain GST returns. What I have done here is we will be covering the popular returns or the returns which are applicable to majority of the taxpayers and which we deal with in a day-to-day basis, on a month-to-month basis. So I'll be covering those returns. I'll also be touching upon certain aspects of annual return and the new return scheme. Then I'll cover GST data storage and the reconciliation for reconciliations. Many of us, while filing the annual return, we face this lot of issues that our books are not matching with the GSTR1 or GSTR3B, and then we spend a lot of time reconciling all those numbers and have a tough time. So I'll be touching upon the reconciliation in detail, and then we will come to the challenges. Some common challenges, 2 or 3 I have listed down, and meanwhile I'll respect if you guys can share your challenges and share it with us so that I can answer those to the best of my ability. So let's start with the presentation. To start with, I'll start with a disclaimer right away that please make sure that these are my views and aspects on GST return and not expressed by ICI. So don't kindly take it up as ICI's view. And secondly, whatever I'm saying may be relevant to your clients and you can apply that, but don't just apply it blanketly, because every client is unique in its way, and there might be certain other nuances due to which we might have to tweak certain things and accordingly apply the fundamentals over there. Okay. So what is the basis for our discussion? So the legal aspects, that is the acts and the rules laid down by the government, the Central CGST Act, SGST Act, IGST Act, and UTGST Act. Then the rules and return formats under the GST, and then I will also be discussing on the reconciliation formats and the issues on GST. To start with, what is generally a return? A layman's definition or a general definition of a return is an act of coming or going back to a place or activity. applying this to any kind of return that we as chartered accountants file, may it be GST or TDS or income tax. What we do generally in a return is whatever transaction we have done, we concise them in a format and we present it to the government authorities. So in a way, whatever transactions we have done, we are revisiting those transactions, okay, revisiting those transactions and activities and coming back to a form wherein we are consolidating those details and filing it with the government authorities. Now, an important aspect of why do we need to file return. Now, this I will explain in terms of GST now onwards. First, it has to be time bound. So when we say that we have incurred transactions and we are coming back to the form and filing it, it has to be time bound. Otherwise, it will go haywire. I will file on a weekly basis. Some other person might file it on a monthly basis, on quarterly basis, on yearly basis. Now that will not help the government at all. Okay. Now, hence it has to be a time bound manner. So that's why we need to file our GST returns either monthly or quarterly, whichever bracket we fit into. Then for the flow of credits. Now, the primary base of the GST Act itself lies on the flow of input credit, okay, and managing the input credit. So if I have raised an invoice on somebody, then unless and until I file my return, the flow of credit will not happen to that receiver of my services. Hence, for the flow of that credit from me to that recipient, we need to file the GST returns so that he can get the input credit. Then policies. This is a very important aspect of returns. So the government of India is not only looking at whether we are filing our GST returns on time, whether we are discharging our liabilities on time and stuff like that. These returns also form a very pertinent base on the basis of which the policy decisions are being taken. So let's say an automobile sector might be facing a huge issue due to the current scenario, or maybe because of the downturn in the economy over a period of last 1 year. Now, to corroborate this, the GST returns can actually become a base. So in the GST return, what we are showing is an HSN wise summary. So we are actually showing how many units of vehicles have been sold and also the volume of the business, that is in terms of the business in rupees or in millions. Okay. Now these two become an important comparative database for the government to corroborate that yes, the certain sector of the economy is not doing really well, and to boost that sector, we need to come out with certain policy changes. So GST returns will actually form the basis on which certain policy decisions will be taken. Then obviously, yes, last, that is the assessment part of it. So the authorities or the GST department will take your returns as the base for filing the GST return. They will match that return with your books of accounts and identify whether you have done all what is required by the GST law or not, and accordingly assess your GST liability. So these are the certain fundamental principles why we need to file a return. Then we come to significance of return filing. Okay, why do we need to file a return? Again, as I said, claiming of input tax credit. If I'm not filing return, I cannot claim the GST input credit. Okay, just let's say I have a liability of 100 rupees and I have an input tax credit of 110 rupees. I say my input tax credit is higher than my liability by rupees 10, and I did not file, I need not have to pay any tax, so I will not file the return. Now that is not done. That input tax credit of 110 will be available to you only when you file your GST return. If you are not filing your GST return, that ITC is not allowable to you. So the government should know what you are doing. You are having a liability of 100 rupees, you are having an ITC of 110, and the balance 10 rupees is what you are carrying forward. For the government to know that you need to file the return, and you need to for your benefit of carrying forward the ITC, you need to file the return. So we can claim credit only if we file the returns. Secondly, the supplier of your services, when you are taking input services or input goods, your supplier also should file the GST returns. If he has not filed his GST returns, you will not be able to claim the GST input credit. That has become the thumb rule, and it has been now implemented very strictly since January 2020, wherein a circular has come in that you can claim only maximum up to 20% of the GST input credit if your GST supplier has not filed his return. So if you have taken an input service and your supplier has not filed the return, out of the 100 rupees you can claim only 20 rupees. So it's very important that your suppliers also file the GST returns on time. Then the maximum time allowed to claim input credit is 1 year from the date of filing. 1 year input tax is date of filing of annual return or report return filing date of September month following year to which claim pertains. So there are 3 due dates over here. One is from the 1 year from the invoice date, then within 6 months from the end of the financial year, or before filing of annual return. Whichever is earlier, that date becomes applicable for you to claim input tax credit in the return. So again, your return filing becomes important when you want to claim the missing input tax credit. Okay. Then again, if you have not filed your GST returns for a continuous period of 6 months, then you are liable, your GST number is liable to get cancelled. And trust me, in last 1 year, the GST department has actually cancelled a lot of GST numbers for the assessees who have not been able to comply with the GST return filing process. Then in case of composition scheme returns, if you have not filed returns for 3 quarters, your GST number can be cancelled. So again, filing of GST return becomes very important to be compliant of input tax, to claim input tax credit, pass on the input tax credit, and get yourself saved from getting a number cancelled. Now, this is a snapshot of the various returns that the GST Act had mandated. Now, out of these returns, certain are in abeyance right now, like GSTR 2 or GSTR 3. In fact, GSTR 3B was not considered as a return at all. When a few chartered accountants had filed a writ petition against it, that's when the GST Council came out with a circular stating that GSTR 3B should be treated as a return, and they had to issue a notification so that GSTR 3B could be considered as a return. Otherwise, it was considered as a statement. Okay. The various due dates have also been listed down in this table. I will not take much time on this because this is widely available now, and certain due dates have been extended right now due to this COVID situation. These are those due dates for certain assessees whose turnover is more than 5 crores and less than 5 crores. If you are less than 5 crores, and on the basis of your state, the due dates have been notified. Okay. Now, what the important aspect to be aspect over here is that the penalty for late filing, the late filing fees has been capped to 250 rupees. So if you have breached any due date and you are filing a return after the due date, then your GST penalty has been capped to 250 maximum. Okay, so that is again a relief given by the Government of India with respect to GST returns. And then for the assessees whose turnover is more than 5 crores, if they are not paying it within the due date, the interest has also been waived off. So the interest now is 9% as compared to 18% previously. So these are the benefits or the reliefs granted by the Government of India with respect to GST in the current scenario. Okay, now we come into the practical aspects of the popular returns that we file on a day-to-day basis. So the popular returns that are filed is GSTR 1, then and GSTR 3B. Why I have listed down GSTR 2A is because now the GSTR 2A becomes a very important return for us to download and match it with our books of accounts. If we are not doing it, then we are in trouble. Okay, that's why I've listed down GSTR 2A in this sheet over here. Now, typically, what is the schema of GSTR1 return? We upload B2B invoices of any value invoice that we are raising from one business to another business that needs to be uploaded. Then B2C large invoices, which has a value of more than 2.5 lakh. Then B2B exempt sale, B2B export sale, debit and credit notes on GST registered customers, then amendments to above. So if the details have been uploaded previously in the previous months and we need to amend those details now, there's an amendment facility available. We can key in those invoice details which we need to amend. We can amend those invoices and submit it, and the original invoice or the original debit or credit note gets amended to that effect. Okay. Then we have B2C small invoices, then advances received. Now this is again a very important aspect, but what I have seen practically is, now in the GST regime, for any advance that is received, generally the parties raise an invoice. Now why do they do it? Is purely because of the convenience. So I have received an advance, immediately I raise an invoice so that I don't have to show it as an advance received, and I can show it as an invoice raised. Okay, because once I have shown it as advance received, I will have to keep on identifying invoices which are getting adjusted against those advances. Now it becomes a cumbersome activity when you have too many flow of advances. Okay, so this becomes a very important aspect, that when I receive advance, I just raise an invoice and I discharge of the liability to the extent of the advance received immediately. Okay, and in future if there is any adjustment that happens, I can always do it by way of a debit or a credit. Okay, so it's become a sheer convenience to raise invoices against advances and upload it in GSTR1 and not show it as an advance. Okay, that's a practical aspect that that I have seen many of my clients actually do it. Okay, they say, if I treat it as an advance, I have to show it in the GST returns. I have to discharge my GST liability any which ways, and then every time I am raising invoice against those advance, I have to keep showing those invoices. Now that doesn't really help because my money to the GST has already gone. Okay, it is only adding up to my activities. So I treat it as absolutely okay, because it's between the two parties. One party is raising an invoice, the other party is accepting that invoice, and it's quite practical in a way. Then adjustment of advances that I spoke about. Then HSN summary. This is applicable to certain SSCs with which have a higher turnovers. And then documents. That's basically your invoice details, your debit note, credit note details, your receipt vouchers, and other stuff that gets uploaded over here. Then we come to GSTR 3B liability. It is primarily a tabular data which assesses your liability in terms of what is your liability, what is your input tax credit, and what is the final liability that you need to pay in cash. Okay, so it contains your taxable supplies, zero rated, nil rated, exempted supplies, inward supplies liable to reverse charge mechanism, your debit note, credit note details, then the eligible ITC. Let me remind you, there is a column for ineligible ITC also in GSTR 3B. So let's say you have received an invoice for car hire services. Now on those services, you cannot claim input tax credit unless you are in similar business activity. So that actually the GST invoice is raised on me. The GST is applied in that invoice, but I cannot claim that GST. So it becomes an ineligible ITC for me. Okay, there's a column where I need to key in that detail. Then reversal of ITC. So if I've taken any input tax credit twice, or if I'm not eligible for any ITC which I've wrongly taken, I can show it in the reversal of ITC, and then payment and set off details. So this is the basic schema of GSTR 1 and 3B. GSTR 2A gives us two sheets. Basically, when we download it in an Excel format, it basically gives us two sheets. That is B2B purchases. Okay, whatever my suppliers have raised invoices on me and uploaded the return, that reflects in my GSTR 2A. And any debit or credit note that those people have raised on me, that also gets reflected in GSTR 2A. So these are the two primary sheets that are very important for us to reconcile with our books of accounts and while filing the GSTR 3B return. Okay. Now, what do I generally do as a practice for all my clients is after every month's return filing is done, I create this table first. Why this table? Because this table gives me a detail as to whether there is any mismatch in my calculations. Now, where the mismatch can come? Okay, I first key in my data as per GSTR1 return because that is the starting point. First, I file my GSTR1 return, so I show my sales, I show my SGST, CGST, and IGST data over here. Then I also show as per 3B. Okay, so when I say as per GSTR1, I'm consolidating all the sales. Okay, may it be B2B, B2C, exempt to SEZ, export, all my invoice total will come under the first column. Then under 3B, same thing, all my sales and my GST data sheet will come over here. And then as per books also, I will key in. These are my three primary columns for keying in data. These will give me the differences. The next two data sheet columns will give me the differences. So first one is GSTR1 versus 3B and GSTR1 versus books. Okay, I can always have another column wherein I am actually calculating difference between GSTR 3B and books also. Okay, it's quite okay. Since there was limited space in this slide, I could not add that column, but yes, you can add that column also. Now, why do I say I first prepare this sheet? This will actually give me first-hand information that in what all months my GST are 1, 3B and books are not matching. Once I have located in which month it is not matching, I can go back and create a detailed reconciliation statement for those months. Otherwise, I need not waste time in preparing those reconciliation statements. Okay. Now this will also show me another important aspect, that a mistake of 1 month can be might have been rectified in second month, and it will show in my difference column. So let's say in my April month, there's a positive difference of 1 lakh rupees, and in June month, there's a negative difference of 1 lakh. What it means that for April month, I might have done certain things which might not have been reconciled with my between 1 and 3B, and I identified that and rectified in the month of June. So that will help me to locate, okay, fine, I have rectified this and my overall difference will be 0. Okay. Now, having said that, I will create a reconciliation statement for April and June, even though I know that it is getting 0. Why I will do that is because tomorrow, if an assessing officer asks me, explain me this difference, at that point of time, it will be easier for me to present a reconciliation statement and satisfy him. So that's why this becomes really important and very pertinent to prepare this sheet after every month return filing. I do this after every month return filing for all my clients. Okay. Similar sheet is also prepared for input credit. Now, what I say, just like your GST liability part, under the input tax credit, I have 3B. That is the input tax credit that I'm claiming as per GSTR 2A. So the GST input credit available in 2A, then the GST liability as per books. So what all invoices I have accounted for, that there's difference between 3B and 2A and 3B versus books. Here I will stop at these two columns itself, because this in a way will give me a complete picture key what has happened. So if I have booked certain input tax credit, but I'm not claimed in 3B, that means that much input tax credit I'm carrying forward. And the reason I would not have claimed it is because that would not have reflected in 2A. And that's exactly what will show in my GSTR 3B versus 2A also. Okay. So I think in the input tax credit, these two difference column will actually suffice the entire requirement of reconciliation. Okay. Now, with respect to the GST reconciliation, what I have experienced in this last 4 years, 3 to 4 years, is that reconciling sales is quite easy, because it is something which the client is doing on his behalf. Okay, he is completely self-reliant in that. So whatever book GST invoices he has accounted, it is easier to reconcile with 1 and 3B, and any difference it can be adjusted in subsequent returns. The complexities in GST input credit is much larger, purely because it is not in our hand. So the input credit is flowing to us because of our vendors. You might be having 100 vendors. Okay. Now all those might be filing GST, their GST returns at different point of time. Some may be filing it monthly, some may be filing it quarterly, some may be very compliant with the GST returns, some may not be as compliant with the GST returns. And this creates a very humongous amount of variabilities in calculating the input tax credit. That's why I come to the complexities of GST return. So with respect to ITC, there are restrictions on claiming ITC. So as per Rule 36(4) of CGST rules of GST rules, a GST taxpayer can claim only 10%. I'm sorry, I earlier referred to 20%. It was 20%, which has been brought down to 10% now. So with effect from January 11, 2020, if I have an input tax credit invoice and the supplier of that invoice has not filed his return, I'll be able to claim only 10% of the input tax credit. Now, that is a loss to me. Okay. And this 10% also, whether I should claim or not, I have to decide. Generally, for my clients, we don't do that. If at all these are small numbers. Okay. And I think these will always be small numbers. Why I say that I don't claim it is because it adds up to my reconciliation statement. It adds up as a scenario in a GST reconciliation statement. So I will always have to keep a track. Okay, fine. These are 100 invoices for which my GST supplier has not given me the input tax credit. I claim 10% now. And then every month I will have to keep on saying how many out of that list has uploaded the return, and I claim the balance 90%. It becomes really tedious. I mean, I have tried it for a client, and eventually we went up to the client and asked him to do it for 1 month by himself. We asked the accountant to do it himself and follow up with the clients, his vendors, and they came back after 1 month and said, forget it, we don't want to claim this 10%. Because his accountant was actually occupied for a large part of the month in identifying the vendors who have actually filed the return or not filed the return, and then computing that balance 90% of it. Then quarterly versus monthly GST return. As I said it earlier, the ITC complexity again increases because out of the vendor list that you have, there might be a few vendors who are filing it monthly, some may be quarterly. Okay. Now now what happens is, let's say I have an invoice of the month of April. I have accounted in the month of April. Okay. But that vendor is filing his GST return at the quarter end. Okay. That invoice will be reflected to me after he files his June return. Okay. Now here the catch is, even in the month of June return, I may not be able to claim it because I have to file my GSTR 3B by 20th, and for quarterly return the due date is 30th. So in all possibilities, that quarterly filing person might be filing that return after 20th. There are very high chances of he doing it. So it kinds of creates that gap. So it is actually available to me in the month of July. That GST credit is actually available to me for the month of July. Then the delay in filing. In this COVID situation, again, this has added to the entire lacunae in terms of GST. So right now we are doing GST reconciliation of a client wherein till now we are claiming GST input credit for the month of Jan. Even for some assessors, we are claiming it for input tax credit of December month. So that if your vendors are not compliant or not filing your returns on time, it adds up that much to your complexity. Then credit notes, yes, credit note raised by suppliers and not accounted by GST taxpayer, that again adds up to the complexity. That's why I said that GSTR 2A, the B2B purchases and debit or credit note becomes really important for us to claim the GST input tax credit and identify the tax liability correctly. Now here I am doing a basic working for ITC. Okay, what I start with is input tax credit reflecting. Okay, sorry. This is a snapshot of my ITC table that I create for every month. Okay. Okay. Now what I have done here. So this is my GSTR 3B working. So the first part comprises of my sales data. Okay. So what are my outward supplies, outward taxable supplies, then zero rated supplies, nil rated supplies, then supplies liable for reverse charge, and that's how I compute my total liability. Okay. Now what I have shown in my PPT is this part. Now this becomes really important. What I am doing here is, first line item is input credit reflecting in June 2020 books and GSTR 2A. So what I have done is, whatever input tax credit I have booked in the month of June, I have extracted it from my books of accounts, matched it with my GSTR 2A, identified what are reflecting in GSTR 2A and what is not reflecting in GSTR 2A, and I claim only those are reflecting in GSTR 2A. Okay, so I have an entire separate breakup. These are the invoices which I am claiming input tax credit, and I have matched it with my GSTR 2A returns. Okay, what I did here is I highlighted it in green. And also I have a separate column GSTR 2A, in which one GSTR 2A it is reflecting, and accordingly I have just carried this sheet over here, and this is the input tax credit that I am claiming from my current month's books of accounts. Okay, this is my current month's books of accounts of input tax credit that I'm claiming. Now the second point becomes really difficult one and the important one. This is input tax credit reflecting in books of earlier months but now available in GSTR 2A. What does it mean? It means, just like this month, there are these invoices which I have received from my vendors, but they have not yet filed my return. Filed the return, hence they are not reflecting in my GSTR 2A currently. And as a result of it, I cannot claim this input tax credit. If I wanted, I could have claimed 10% of these credit in this month, but since due to practical issues that I discussed, this client has told me that you don't need to calculate the 10% and 90%. We will straight away not claim this credit. Okay, and hence what I do is I create another sheet wherein month-wise we have list of invoices for which we could not claim the credit because my vendors have not uploaded their returns. Okay, this is the entire list. So right from December 19 onwards, there were invoices for which the vendors had not uploaded their GST return. Okay, now what I do in this month is I extract the GSTR 2A. I extract the GSTR 2A for the entire financial year 1920. I extract the entire GSTR 2A for the financial year 1920, and then month-wise for April, May, June, and July. This is July month, April, May, June, and July. Okay, and I match each and every invoice in those data sheets. So these pertain to previous financial year, these 3 months or 4 months rather. So I have matched it with my GSTR 2A of financial year 1920, and from April onwards, I again downloaded the GSTR 2A month-wise, and I matched it with these pending GST invoices. Okay, I matched it with my pending GST invoices, and whichever were reflecting, I highlighted them, and I also put in a remark. Okay, now if you see, there are certain remarks which are important. Now, like for example, this one, reflecting in GSTR 2A 1920, invoice number not matching. Now, what is this? So for this particular GST number, my client has received an invoice, okay, and the supplier has also uploaded the invoice. The date is matching, the amounts are matching, but the invoice number is not matching. Okay, we have claimed this input tax credit now, and my client will follow up with the GST vendor that you have not uploaded the return correctly. If nothing can be done, either he will issue a fresh invoice to them and they will rectify their entry in the books of accounts, or else he will give them a in writing that he had wrongly issued, the invoice number that he had issued to them were wrong, and the correct invoice numbers as are those that are reflecting on the GST portal. So this will actually help my client to mitigate the risk of non-availability of input credit in the assessment. Okay. Now there are other aspects. Reflecting in June 2020 GSTR 2A, but not yet submitted. Now typically, I am using a Winman software to download the GSTR 2A. Now what Winman does is, it downloads only those GSTR 2A details wherein the vendors have submitted their return. That means I have uploaded the invoices, but I'm yet to submit that return. What it will do is, it will show in my customers GSTR 2A portal, and it will show yes or no. No means that I have not yet submitted my return. Yes means yes, I have uploaded the details and I have submitted also. Now here I am claiming this input tax credit because the details have been uploaded. It's just a matter of submitting that return. Okay, technically one can argue that since he has not yet submitted the return, he can always amend that or delete that invoice, and that may not be available to you. Okay, having said that, we always need to look at the quantum of it as well. So in all practical view, since such invoices are not much and the quantum is not high, we have claimed it. Okay, we have claimed it, and the client is actually following up with them to actually get the return submitted also. So this remark column actually helps me identifying such vendors, and the client actually follows up with those vendors that, guys, this is what is happening and you need to actually submit your return and not just upload the invoices. Okay, so the vendor is also having a view that my his customers are actually viewing these details and are actually following up with him. Okay, so this is, so whatever we're reflecting in this sheet actually becomes part of my summary sheet over here. here. These are all the invoices which are not pertaining to June month, or rather, sorry, July month, which are pertaining to months previous to July, but I have claimed the input tax credit in the month of July. So this, at any given point of time, in any assessment, if somebody asks me to give a breakup of these input tax credit, I readily have that available with me. What is the input tax credit that I have claimed in the month of GSTR 2A? Okay, and these sheets, these 2A sheets actually help me to corroborate further that yes, I had downloaded it from my from the GST portal and I have matched it with my GST portal, and that's when I have claimed the input tax credit. Okay, now why this? Why do we need this? Okay, reason is, if we have claimed the GST input tax credit which we were not supposed to take, okay, the client, the GST officers identify that, then there will be interest and penalty on that. Hence, this reconciliation or this breakup becomes very important for us to minimize the risk of GST assessment and the liability arising out of interest and penalty. So this working will actually help me do that. Now, I don't have that sheet right now, but I'll try and identify for another client that I've done. Now there can be, just like you matched my books and 2A, and I've identified invoices where I have the invoice, but the 2A doesn't show that invoice. There can be vice versa thing also. Okay. Now what I mean by vice versa. So there can be a situation where a vendor has uploaded the GST invoices, but I don't have the physical copy and I am not accounted for it. Okay, I'm not accounted for it. Now that is also an input credit which is going out of my hand. Now, legally speaking, unless and until I have a invoice in my hand, I cannot claim the input tax credit. Many clients actually do that. Okay, GST 2A में दिख रहा है ना, हम लोग credit ले लेते हैं, and we will ask for the invoice later. Now there is a risk attached to it also, that if that later never happens and you don't have a physical invoice in your hand and the GST assessment happens in your office and you are not able to show that invoice to the assessing officer, there are very high chances that that input tax credit will be disallowed and you will be charged interest and penalty. Okay, so there's whatever input tax credit that is reflecting in your books in your 2A, but you have not accounted for it, that also needs to be followed up with the vendors, and a proper invoice should be taken on record. Now typically, what could be those invoices? Okay, the best example is bank charges. Nowadays everybody has uploaded their GST numbers with the bankers, and the banks pass on the input tax credit to their customers. Even if you have a current account, any charges, let's say debit card charges or ledger maintenance charges, whatever those charges are there, the input tax credit is passed on to the customer. Now typically, if I don't have an invoice copy of the bank, there are very high chances that that input tax credit might not be made available to me. So we need to go back to the bank and ask for an invoice copy. Typically, many banks have started sending it on email nowadays, but that's the best example that I could show. Now, many times what happens? Typically, these invoices, 31st July invoices. Now, what would have happened? The vendor might have uploaded issued the invoice. He might have sent the material. Now that material comes to me in first week of August. Now when I will book that invoice? In the month of August. Okay, and that's when I will claim this input tax credit. That is in the month of August and not in the month of July. Okay, so that's where this should reflect in for the month of July. These will reflect as input tax credit available in 2A, but not reflecting in my books. So all these are those invoices. So this is my 2A. So 2A, again, all these green line items are those input tax credit which I have claimed in July month. I have received the invoice, I have booked those invoices, and I have claimed in the month of July. But these are the invoices which are reflecting in my 2A, but I have not booked in my books of accounts and I have not claimed it in my GST return. Now, typically, this I will carry forward next month and I will see that whether these invoices have come to me and I have claimed that input tax credit or not, so that I don't miss out on any input tax credit that is available to me in GSTR 2A. Okay, so that's why these reconciliations become very, very important when it comes to claiming input tax credit and showing it in my GSTR 3B returns. Okay, that's where this input tax credit comes, and I consolidate it. I arrive on my net GST liability. I set off input tax credit, and I come to my final liability and I pay off this liability to file my return. Okay, so let's summarize what we have discussed. So the important underlying thumb rule over here is that I can claim ITC only as per rules. That means whatever is available in my GSTR 2A, I can claim that input tax credit and not what is reflecting in my books of accounts. Okay, so first sheet was the current month ITC, that is the ITC booked in accounts reconciled with GSTR 2A and claimed in this return. Then previous month ITC, that is the ITC accounted in the previous months but not claimed in 3B of these previous months because they were not reflecting in 2A, and now I have claimed it because they are now reflecting in 2A. Okay, then unclaimed GST input credit as per books, then ITC available in GSTR 2A not claimed in books. So these 4 sheets become really, really important for us to go ahead with respect to GST return filing. And trust me, this will not only help you in your GST assessment, but it will also help you in your consolidation. When I say consolidation, I mean GSTR 9. All this becomes very important when you are preparing your GSTR 9, because GSTR 9 certain data are auto-populated and you cannot amend those. Now, when they are auto-populated, they are coming right from your GSTR 1, GSTR 3B and GSTR 2A, and then you need to key in your books ka data. Now, when you are keying in books data, there are chances that there might be mismatch between your books and what returns are filed by you. Okay, this sheet will help you to identify those differences at the go and go back to your reconciliation statement and identify what you have done. Okay, now another important aspect that needs to be seen here is there are always certain things, or let's say in GSTR 9 there is a field where we can claim we have to show how much input tax credit we had booked in accounts, but we have claimed in the next financial year before filing of annual return. Okay, and also with respect to liability, let's say the liability pertains to financial year 1920, but I have discharged in the month of 2021. So these reconciliation statements will actually help you to identify those and present it correctly in your GSTR 9 return. So this is with respect to the GST return and GST reconciliation. This is how typically my folder looks like in my after I file all my GST returns. I actually do download the GSTR 3B and 1 and keep it handy right over here with my tax challenge. And to go a step ahead, what we actually do is we create PDF for these sheets and save it as well on a cloud. Now, typically, why do I need to do that? Okay, that's again it might sound very silly, but Excels have this tendency of getting modified intentionally or unintentionally. Okay, that's why I actually create a PDF of this and save it along with my returns on a cloud server, so that if I at any given point of time I identify that in my Excel and my return there is a mismatch, then I can go back to those PDF files and actually see what was the actual working. Okay, see, in GST the simplest of things become really difficult. Okay, so having a discipline in saving data becomes really important when it comes to GSTR 9 filing, and also in terms of assessment. Let me tell you, the assessments have already started with respect to GST, and some clients are facing lot of issues when it comes to their 17-18 data, because the data has been maintained very haphazardly and they are not reconciling with books of accounts and their returns, and the trouble has already been started. So having this reconciliation statements and data sheets ready month-wise will actually save a lot of time when you're filing your annual returns and also handling assessment. So typically, this is the flow of the returns. First, we ensure that our GSTR1 is matching with books of accounts, and then we reconcile it with our 3B. We file our 1, we reconcile it with our 3B. Then parallelly, what we do is we download the GSTR2A return, we match it with our books of accounts and claim whatever is available in 2A and reflecting in our books in the 3B and pay off the final liability. Okay, so with this I come to an end of GSTR 1, 2A and 3B. Divyansh, are you there? Hello?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Hello?
I'm here.
Yes, yes.
Are there any questions relating to GSTR 1, 2A and 3B? If we can take that now, or how would you suggest we take it at the end?
So you can take it now also if it is one concept wise. Mishra ji, we'll just let know. It will be up on the screen, sir. 1 minute.
Yeah. Do I need to minimize, stop sharing?
Sir, Mishra ji will guide us on this. Mishra ji?
तो दिव्यांश
जी जी मिश्रा जी, सर ऐसा पूछना चाह रहे थे कि वो क्वेश्चंस का भी ले सकते हैं या फिर कैसे करना है, आप उनको थोड़ा सा बात कीजिए।
सुनील सर
हाँ जी सर।
तो देखिए, मैंने ऑर्गेनाइजर बनाया, मैंने अभी आपको ये देखिए आपका ऑप्शन आया, आपके ऑर्गेनाइजर का ऑप्शन आ गया आपके पास में। अभी आप देखेंगे क्वेश्चन देखो लिखा रहेगा, 2 मिनट चलो के। हाँ, अभी क्वेश्चन का ऑप्शन आया। हाँ, उसको क्लिक करेंगे, देखिए क्वेश्चन आया ना, पूरा बच्चे जितना भी क्वेश्चन आया सब आपको दिखेगा।
कितने क्वेश्चन है आप मुझे बता सकते हैं? मुझे खाली एक ही दिख रहा है।
देखिए ना एक बार वापस क्वेश्चन देखिए ना, क्वेश्चन जो भी आए हुए।
हाँ, मुझे खाली आफरीन जी का क्वेश्चन दिख रहा है यहाँ पे। कैन वी सी पार्टी वाइज और डेट वाइज जीएसटी?
एरो से नीचे करिए ना सर, एरो से नीचे करिए ना सर, माउस के एरो से क्वेश्चन नीचे करते रहेंगे तो पूरा क्वेश्चन दिखेगा। कम से कम क्या से 35-40 क्वेश्चन रहेंगे। आपने क्वेश्चन पे गए, आपने जो एरो है ना बॉक्स टाइप बॉक्स है छोटा सा क्रॉस है, उसका जो बॉक्स है उस पर क्लिक करेंगे तो पूरा स्टेप बाहर आ जाएगा।
आपको अगर पॉसिबल होगा ये कॉपी पेस्ट करके वर्ड में और स्क्रीन शेयर कर सकते हैं?
सर एक काम करते हैं, आप आगे का ले लो, फिर ले लेंगे अगर अभी नहीं हो पा रहा है। आप कंटिन्यू कर लो, ले लेते हैं बाद में।
आप सर कंटिन्यू करिए, मैं आपको क्वेश्चन दे देता हूँ सर।
हाँ, एक काम कीजिए, मैं कंटिन्यू कर लेता हूँ। आप लोग में से कोई एक जन ये जितने भी क्वेश्चंस है आप अगर वर्ड में कॉपी पेस्ट करके एंड लास्ट में हम लोग अगर स्क्रीन शेयर कर लेंगे तो सारे क्वेश्चंस मुझे दिख जाएंगे एंड देन आई कैन आंसर ऑल दोस क्वेश्चंस। साउंड्स गुड?
सर मैं आपको क्वेश्चन पूरा जितना भी क्वेश्चन है मैं मेल कर देता हूँ मैं आपको।
ओके, मेल मत करना, मुझे स्क्रीन शेयर कर देना, मैं मेल ओपन नहीं कर पाऊंगा अभी।
ओके चलेगा।
मिश्रा जी मुझे कर दीजिए या फिर, ठीक है?
ओके सर।
Okay, now we come to GSTR 9. I will not go very in depth into GSTR 9 purely because GSTR 9 in itself is a very detailed topic, and there's a there I had actually previously taken a separate session for.
हाँ सर
Sorry?
से बात, तू बन या मेरे को बना देंगे, तू बात कर ले।
Okay. GSTR 9 in itself is a very vast topic actually, and I remember I had taken a separate session on annual return itself for the students organized by Vikasa last year, and it was almost a 1.5 hour to 2 hour session that I had taken, and it may not be actually possible for us to cover the entire GSTR 9 right now, but what I will do is I'll touch upon the basic details that are being covered in GSTR 9. So there are basic details of your registration, your various branch offices and stuff. Then your outward and inward supplies declared during the year, which forms part of your table 4 to 5. Then ITC claimed, which forms a part of your table 6 to 8. Then tax paid and declare, that is table 9. And then part 5, that is particulars of transaction for the previous financial year declared in returns of April to September of current financial year. That means if I am filing my GST annual return for financial year 1920 and I have shown certain transactions pertaining to financial year 1920 in the period from April 20 to September 20, that will fall part of this column. Okay, I hope I have made it quite simple. Okay, so in a way, any overlap in the year with respect to any transaction, that will form part of this column. Okay, now why does this happen? Okay, as we go back to our reconciliation statements, there might be a possibility that I might have raised invoice in the month of March 2020. Okay, and I might have filed my GSTR for the month of March without showing that invoice. Okay, now what will happen? Let's say I have shown, I have raised an invoice worth rupees 100 in my March month. Okay, and I have not shown it in my GSTR 3B. Okay, now when it comes to my financial statements, that 100 rupee invoice will be reflected. So let's say if my turnover is 500 rupees, that 500 will include this 100 rupees, and my GSTR 1 and 3B will be at 400 rupees. Now, what I will do is I will show this 100 rupees in the month of April. So that becomes an overlap in terms of financial year. So to reconcile my books of accounts or my financial statements with 3B and 1, I will have to show that 100 rupees, and that 100 rupees will come in this part 5 from table 10 to 14. Okay, then there is other information which comprises of your HSNY summary, your document summary, and all the other stuff. Okay, so this is the primary schema of GSTR 9, and trust me, if you are robust in maintaining GST reconciliation of of your sales and your input tax credit, GSTR 9 is not difficult. GSTR 9 is not difficult. It is a cakewalk if you are able to maintain your reconciliations and are able to properly plug in your numbers from your returns. And you can showcase that why this difference is coming, and this part 5 will help you to show those differences. Okay, so that with that I will now move to new returns. Now, why first understand why do we need the return scheme? Okay, so many people have identified or are rather facing issues that GSTR 1 is not actually useful for me. If I'm only a B2C supplier, GSTR 1 doesn't help me. Okay, and the entire GSTR doesn't help me. I just need to fill in one block and I'm done with it. Okay, and there are others wherein it is quite becoming cumbersome, and actual flow of GST return was not able to maintain because of the implementation issues. So if we go back to 2017, the original plan was to have GSTR 1, GSTR 2, and GSTR 3. So by 10th, I need to file GSTR 1. By 15th, I need to file GSTR 2, and by 20th, I need to file GSTR 3. Now, what happened was the implementation failed, and because of that, there were a lot of issues of flow of input tax credit, delay in filing of return, and if we go back to that year, I mean, almost for the entire financial year 17-18, the return filing due dates were extended eternally. And today also, if we see, although in my previous statement I said if you are filing annual return for 19-20, I think 19-20 is a distant dream. First, let us file the returns for 18-19 financial year. The due date for which is September, but with all the possibilities around, I see that date extending. Please don't take any decision on this statement, because the original due date is September 20 and we need to file by 18-19 returns by September 20 as of now. So the implementation and the cumbersome activities of GST returns actually made the life difficult. Okay, we can see that with GSTR 2A. Now, if I go back to my client data sheet that I shared with you, I am actually doing a reconciliation for financial year 19-20 till now. I'm in August month and I am still doing reconciliation for financial year 19-20. It is that difficult, okay, in terms of reconciling your books with the GST portal and making your vendors comply with the GST norm. So what the government did, okay, so the government is now trying to make life easier by introducing a new scheme of returns, which as of now should get implemented from October 20 onwards. The original date of starting was October 2019. It was then extended to April 20, and due to this COVID scenario, the date for implementation has been moved to October 2020. I am not sure whether this will be able to start in October 20 onwards, but as of now, the due date is October 20. Okay, so what is the new return schema? So first, it is the large taxpayer. Okay, if your turnover in previous financial year was more than 5 crores, or even in current financial year, if you are crossing 5 crores, then you fall under the large taxpayer bracket, and the normal monthly return scheme is applicable to you. Okay, the names that are written over here: normal monthly returns, Sahaj quarterly return, Sugam, and normal quarterly return are the name of the schemes under which you can opt. These are not the return names. These are the schemes that you can opt for. So if you are a large taxpayer, that is turnover more than 5 crore, you fall compulsorily under normal monthly return, and you will have to file a monthly returns. We will come to the return part in the subsequent slide, but this is where you come to. Then, although if you go to GST portal, normal quarterly return is first and then Sahaj and Sugam, I have tweaked the chronology so that I can explain it in a better manner. Okay, now if you are not a large taxpayer, your turnover is less than 5 crore. Okay, then what? Then if you are only B2C supplier, only B2C supplier means you are, all the invoices that you have raised are to registered GST suppliers only. The invoices that you have raised are to the GST registered suppliers only. Then you can come under Sahaj quarterly return. Here's a catch, but those B2C invoices should not be raised through e-commerce portal. Now what does it mean? Okay, let's say I am selling mobile phones. Okay, now I sold mobile phones to, let's say, an XYZ company. Okay, they came to my shop, they placed an order, they gave me their GST number, I sold them 100 mobile phones, I raised a GST invoice, and I had their GST number. It becomes a B2C sale. Okay, now this is not through an e-commerce portal, so I can file my Sahaj quarterly return if I do not have any other transaction of B2 Oh, sorry. I'm so sorry. Let me come back. I am a vendor. I am a mobile seller. I have a retail shop, and let's say during the month, 10 customers walked into my showroom, and I sold 10 mobile phones to them. Now all these 10 were a walk-in customer. They were not GST registered, and I raised a simple invoice on them as unregistered customer. Okay, and I have not sold anything through e-commerce portal. I can come under Sahaj quarterly return. Okay, I can fall under Sahaj quarterly return. Let's say there was one customer who placed an online order through, let's say, Amazon or Flipkart, and I sold it through Amazon or Flipkart. I sold it through Amazon or Flipkart. Immediately, this return becomes void for me, and I will have to come to normal quarterly return. If I am selling any product through e-commerce portal in that particular month or quarter, I immediately fall under the normal quarterly return. Okay. Then we come to B2B and B2C, that is the Sugam quarterly return. So let's say, same example, 10 were walk-in customers. One was a company that came to me and asked for 100 mobile phones. Now I sold 100 mobile phone to a company which is registered under GST. I've raised a GST invoice on them, and they are going to claim the input tax credit on that invoice. Now they are going to claim input tax credit. Now there is a B2B sale, as well as for walk-in customer there is a B2C sale. Okay, this will fall under Sugam quarterly return. This will fall under Sugam quarterly return. Okay, again here it should not include any sales which is through e-commerce portal. It should not include any sales which is through e-commerce portal. If there's any sale through e-commerce portal, then I come to normal quarterly return. Okay, so Sahaj is only for B2C except e-commerce portal. Sugam is for B2B and B2C, not including e-commerce portal, and normal quarterly return is for all the other associates. Okay, so normal quarterly return is for all those associates which are not falling in these previous three scheme of returns. Okay, I hope I've made this very clear. Now, how typically this schema will look like? Okay, so it will look like outward supply annexure, inward supply annexure, return for the month or quarter, payment declaration. Okay, and last is the amendment part to it. Okay, so typically this is the flow under which the monthly or quarterly normal GST returns will have to be filed now. So the nomenclatures will change a bit, but more or less the scheme remains the same. So again, the GST Annex 1, it is an annexure for, so now these are not called as returns, but these are called as annexures. Okay, I don't know how the nomenclature change actually changes a lot of things, but yes, this is not called as an annexure return, but an annexure. So the annexure will have to be uploaded by the 10th of the subsequent month. So all your outward supply, imports and inward supply attracting reverse charge invoices will have to be uploaded in GST Annex 1. Okay, now this will typically get reflected in your GST Annex 2. Okay, you will have to kind of, so say, same flow that was originally identified for 2 remains over here. So whatever invoices are reflecting in your GST Annex 2, you will have to either accept or reject. Okay, and that will flow to your GST RET1. That will flow to your GST RET1. These 2 data sheets will flow to your GST RET1, and you will be, and then basis on your monthly or quarterly thing, that will get populated in your return, and that will automatically calculate your GST liability. It will automatically calculate your GST liability, and you will have to pay that liability in this GST PMT 08. Okay, This return you will have to again submit before the 20th of subsequent month, okay, for both monthly and quarterly thing. Now, an important aspect over here is the amendment of GST returns. Till now, there was no concept of amendment in GST return. So if you, the example that I gave, that I've not shown one invoice of the month of March in the month while filing my GSTR 1 and 3B. Now, typically there is no other option available to me except for the month which is open for me for filing return. So let's say I have filed my April return, I filed my May return, and in the month of June I identify, okay, this invoice I have not shown in my GSTR 1 of March, then I can show that invoice in my June month's in GST return. Okay, so there was no concept of amendment. It is rectifying as and when we identify the mistake. Rectifying as and when we identify the mistake. Now under the new scheme, the amendments are available. So I can file GST Annex 1A to amend my GST1 this return. That is my outward liabilities. I can amend and I can regenerate my return. Okay, so my GST RET 1A amendment to form this return also I can amend. I have not been able to, they have not given me option to amend 2. Why? Because GST 2 will be auto populated. GST 2 will be auto populated. Now typically this will be a problem for me. Again, reason being, if let's say I am the recipient of GST invoice, my supplier had originally filed his GST Annex 1, which got reflected in my GST Annex 2. Okay, and I have independently uploaded my output invoices. I saw my GST Annex 2. There was an invoice showing. I claimed my GST and I filed my return. Now, what happens if my supplier amends his GSTR Annexure 1? If he amends his GST Annexure 1, there is high chances that my Annexure 2 gets updated. If it gets updated, what is the leeway available to me is right now not mentioned. Right now not mentioned. So again, this will form part of reconciliations. There will be a lot of reconciliations that we will again have to maintain to claim our input credit. So the reconciliation saga will not end as this week. Okay, so keeping the fundamental principles right and maintaining the discipline, whether it is the older return scheme or the new return scheme, is of primary importance. Okay, so the amendments are made will now be able to be made. There will be certain capping of how many times you can amend. Okay, so as far as I remember, there was if you are a large taxpayer, then you can amend thrice in a year. If you are not, then you can amend only once in a year. Something of this sort I had read somewhere. I am not fully aware right now, but there is a capping on the amendment, the number of times you can amend your GST returns. So it's not like every month I can keep on amending my returns. It's not possible. Okay, so there will be a capping on the number of times you can amend the returns. Okay, then we come to the challenges. Now these are out of the practice that I have seen in last 3-4 years, and the kind of common queries that that my clients raise on me. These are the 3 primary things that I'm seeing right now in the GST returns as of now. So first is credit note. Okay, let's say you have raised an invoice of 1 lakh rupees on your customer. Now he has not made you the payment. Okay, now what the GST input credit rules say, I'll not cover GST input credit in detail, but because I assume that there will be a separate session on input tax credit taken by another speaker. But since we are touching upon certain aspects of returns and the issues relating to the credit notes, I am kind of covering that portion. Is now typically what happens is what the law covers is that if your customer has not paid you in 6 months, the customer has to reverse the input tax credit. The customer has to reverse the input tax credit. Okay. Now, what it does it mean that he is actually reversing his input tax credit and increasing his liability. Okay. He is increasing his liability by reversing the input tax credit. Now, the question arises, what should I do as a supplier? Does it mean that I cannot reverse input tax, I cannot reverse my liability after 6 months? With due respect, I think that is not the case, because businesses are activities of all kinds of possibilities. Okay, and credit note is a part of it. So if my vendor has not paid me after 6 months, why should I still keep showing input tax credit to him? There should be an option available to me to reverse the input tax credit. And I have heard some of the people saying that you cannot raise a credit note after 6 months. I beg to differ on that part. Even the GST portal doesn't restrict you to account for a credit note against an invoice which is 6 months old. So now if the GST portal itself is not restricting me, that means that leeway is available to me. So I should be able to account for a credit note even after 6 months. I'd like to take a practical insight. I mean, non-payment is one such scenario. I'd like to take another scenario. Let's say in manufacturing sector, actually this happens, and I have seen this very closely. What happens is there is a price negotiation. Okay. So what happens is I keep on supplying at a certain rate to my vendor, and this happens very much in the automobile industry. So what happens? Let's say I am a supplier to Maruti. Okay, Maruti and I have agreed on a certain price, and I keep on supplying at that price to Maruti. Now, over a period of, let's say, 1 year, there are price fluctuations in my raw material procurement. Especially anyone with who is dealing in the steel product, the steel prices keep on fluctuating. Okay, so what happens is after, let's say, 6 months or 8 months, I again calculate my cost. Okay, and I see what is my cost against the price at which I am selling to Maruti, and I see that my margin has decreased. So what I do is I go to Maruti and I say I seek a price revision for this particular period. Okay, now that period could be 6 months, 8 months, 1 year. Okay, now what Maruti will do is Maruti will sit down with me. They will see my cost sheet. They will ascertain the price fluctuation, and they will say, okay, fine, we agree with your price fluctuation, and this is the price difference that we are giving you. Now what will happen is once the Maruti has agreed to that price fluctuation, I will come back to my office. I will ascertain the quantity that I have supplied over a period of 1 year, and I will apply that rate change. And that differential rate invoice I will raise on Maruti. Okay, now it could be an invoice and it can be a debit note. Okay, what Maruti will do is Maruti will either account it as an invoice or a credit to me. Okay, now if this I am saying for a rate increase, there could be a possibility of rate decrease also. So in case of a rate decrease, I have invoiced at a higher price, and now Maruti is seeking a price revision, and Maruti is saying you need to decrease it by, let's say, 2 rupees per unit. I have no choice but to raise a credit note. I have issued an invoice at 100 rupees. Maruti is saying you need to decrease it by 2 rupees. I will have to decrease it by 2 rupees because that is what I've agreed with them. In this scenario, there's no option available to me other than raising a credit note. So I will raise a credit note of that 2 rupees and give it to Maruti. Now again, it's a credit note. If now, can GST restrict this? With due humble, with all the humbleness, I say no, they cannot, because it's a business call. Today, because of GST regulation, people will not stop taking business calls. Okay, so this is a business call which a person is taking, and because of this, credit notes will be there. So the myth that I cannot raise credit notes after 6 months, I think is not right. I can still raise a credit note after 6 months and reverse my liability. I say I reverse my liability and I adjust that much amount. Okay. Now, I covered this earlier also. Invoice numbers do not match. Okay. Now, many times what happens is, let's say there are certain prefixes and suffixes when you receive a invoice from your GST vendor. While uploading, those prefixes and suffixes are not there. Okay. Can this be treated as a mismatch? Yes, it can be. How to cover it? A simple email or a confirmation from the vendor that this is their practice should suffice. Now, this is a cosmetic level of discrepancy. What happens in an actual level of discrepancy? So there might be a possibility. Okay, I'll just show you a practical. See here what has happened. So this particular supplier has raised invoices 36, 37. I don't know why the invoice numbers are not coming over here, but 40, 39, 38. Now, these are the invoice numbers reflecting in the books of my client. Now, if you can see, this 45 number invoice is not visible over here. The 43, 44 number is also not there. Okay. Now, there is a mismatch. Okay. See, this 30th March invoice, there is a mismatch on the dates as well. Now, overall, majority of the invoice in terms of amounts are matching. The majority of the invoices in terms of amounts are matching, and the GST credit is matching also. So what to do? Now, I don't have any other recourse available. Now, see, if you look at the quantum of the GST credit, it is 5 lakhs of amounts on CGST and SGST. The total credit is 10 lakhs. Can I give away this much amount of credit? Answer is no. Nobody would like to give away this amount of credit. So here, what ideally should be done is either you take a fresh invoice of what has been uploaded onto a portal and replace it in your statement, in your books, okay, or else you take an email confirmation that there is email or a written confirmation stating that the invoice numbers have been goofed up by the vendor in a very polite language. Goofed up, I am using that term, but in a very polite language, he will have to state that this mismatch is due to error on his part. Okay, and these are the actual invoices. Okay, now this should ideally suffice your requirement to claim the GST input credit, because there is nothing that you can do as a customer in this case. Okay, so these are the few challenges that I am seeing right now in GST returns, and there are a lot of queries being raised by our clients, customers. We are raising a lot of queries on our vendors, and these are the practical challenges that we are facing right now. Divyansh, you're there?
Yes, sir. Garv here.
Yes, I am here.
I think we can start with the queries and any questions that are there. It's already
Okay.
3:35. So last 15-20 minutes, I think,
Okay.
yeah, around 20 minutes we have more. So we can start with the queries session.
Yes, Garv, are you proceeding with it?
There on the screen, I guess. Is it?
Yeah. Can
would
you
you-
yeah, it's visible. Where to show purchase from unregistered dealer? In 3B. I think there's a separate tab when you select your so I don't think so. Unregistered dealer purchases are to be shown actually unless and until they are covered under your reverse charge mechanism. Okay, so that is the only thing that we need to show. Can we get practical exposure before going to articleship? I guess no, because you.
I think someone who has asked this question, it's a very good question, and you can obviously no one can stop you from a practical exposure. You may just approach a CA office, show your genuinity of working, and show the intention of learning. And I'm sure anyone would be ready to help you. All you need to do is be genuine and be honest in terms of your approach, and show your ability to work with the chartered accountant or any office for that matter, and probably you'll get a good exposure.
Yeah. So just to add to Arpit sir's point, I did have a lot of people in my office who had appeared for PE2 or IPCC, and they had not yet cleared their examination but wanted to work and get the exposure. And obviously, you can, as Arpit sir said, you can always approach CA officers and work for them and get the practical insight. In GSTR 9 for financial year 18-19, if the differential tax paid after taking ITC is paid in the April to September quarter of financial year 19-20, then how do we show that in GSTR 9? Can you please show that? See, I have not yet discussed the entire GSTR 9 over here, but there is a tab. As I said, there is a tab in the GSTR 9.
Do you want to present your screen?
Yeah, yes. I'll just share. Okay.
Just a minute.
Shaji,
Just a minute.
sir ko,
Yeah, is it visible?
मैं ही कर रहा हूँ, sir. I'm doing. Yes.
Okay, good.
So in part 5
Yes, sir.
of the GSTR 9, there are different tables for liability, input tax credit, and payment challenge. Okay, which can form part of your for GSTR 9. So here you will be actually able to show all the transactions pertaining to financial year 18-19, which you have done in 19-20. Okay, so in this table you can actually show all your transactions and submit it as well. Okay, yeah, Divyansh, you can share your screen now. No, the fine of rupees 250 is not per day. It is the maximum amount of late fees that you are charged now. If it crosses, so basically it is I think 20 rupees per day. Okay, if it crosses 250 rupees, then the maximum amount is 250. If it doesn't, then whatever is your actual late fee amount, that will have to pay. What about rest of 90%? So although these rules were there previously also, but with effective Jan 20, actually these have been made more robust. So what I meant was, if the GST invoice has not been uploaded on the portal and I have that invoice in my hand, I can claim 10% upright. The balance 90% will be available to me when that invoice is actually uploaded on the GST portal. I hope I have cleared that point. Okay, so the balance 90% will only be available once that GST invoice has been uploaded on the portal and it is available in your 2A. Only then you will be able to claim the GST input credit of that balance 90%. If my supplier has filed return, is it mandatory for us to file GSTR 2A? You are not filing GSTR 2A. GSTR 2A is an auto-populated return that is available to you to reconcile your input tax credit. You are not supposed to submit GSTR 2A and 2A. Any which ways 2A is not a return that you are supposed to submit. GSTR 2 was the original return which we were supposed to submit, but that is not mandatory to submit right now. And 2A is only for reconciliation purpose as of now, to reconcile your input tax credit. If I download my GSTR 2A of a month for reconciliation on 20th of a month, and suppliers keep on adding invoices after that date too, downloading and matching them every now and then is only option available. What is the solution for that? Having a good software. I think that is the only solution right now, and maintaining your data sheets robustly. So what here I will add a bit point over here. So what you are actually asking is a very practical question, and this is almost all the chartered accountants are facing this problem now with reconciliation. Here, the only thing that I keep on doing is whenever I download a 2A for a month, I match it with my 3B and I match it completely. I've shown you. Now next month when I again download the 2A, let's say I had already downloaded April GSTR 2A previously, and I am again downloading April month ka 2A. Now first thing that I will do is I will negate all the input credit that I have already claimed in 2A. Okay, and then I will focus on the balance point. So that eases out a lot of things, and it actually helps me to identify that all the input credit that is available in 2A has also been taken. Okay, so downloading every month GSTR 2A is the only option available right now, and no other option that I can see as of now that is available. Okay, if a supplier changes an invoice pertaining to June in GSTR 1 return of September, in the option of amendment of invoice, will it get changed in my GSTR 2A of June or September? In the month of June, how can I know how many of my invoices have been changed later on by the supplier? It will reflect in September. It will reflect in September. There will be a separate sheet of the amendments that have been done. Okay, so you can actually, when you download 2A, there's a complete list of transactions that have been changed or amended or taken up, that is reflected in your that month's GSTR 2A. Okay, so this I think should not be a problem. You can see as and when the things are being amended. Selling items through Flipkart, shall we prepare monthly return or quarterly? So it depends upon your turnover. Okay, if you are selling through Flipkart and your turnover is more than 5 crores, you are compulsorily required to file a monthly return. If your turnover is not more than 5 crores, then you are eligible for the quarterly return. Okay, how do you handle the invoices? The sharing of screenshot. Yeah, how do you handle the invoices raised against advances received in the books of accounts revenue recognition? See, this should not be a problem in terms of revenue recognition, because in GST2 also, in GST returns also, you are showing it as an advance only. You are not booking an invoice. So let's say I received an advance of 10 lakh rupees in the month of March. I have accounted it as an advance received from my customer. What I'm doing is I'm showing that advance as an advance in my GST return also. The only change is I am paying GST liability also on that advance. Okay, now in the subsequent month, let's say in the month of June, I raised an invoice of 10 lakh rupees on that customer. Okay, so my invoice will get accounted in the month of June. In my financials also, that invoice will be accounted in the month of June. In GSTR 1 also, it will show in GSTR, it will show in the month of June, and my advance will get knocked off. So there is no confusion with respect to revenue recognition when it comes to advances. I mean in GST as well as in your books of accounts. Can we see party-wise or date-wise GSTR 3B? Although this question is not quite clear to me, but I will try and answer this. I can actually go on the GST portal and see whether my vendors have filed GSTR 3B and 1 or not. So there is an entire table available on the GST portal that up to what date my vendors have filed the GST returns. Okay. So this is again a very good point as a value add to our customers. If we see that a particular vendor has not filed the returns for last 12 months or let's say 6 months, we actually highlight it to our customer, to our clients, that this particular person has not filed his return for last 6 months and his number might get cancelled and we might lose out on the input tax credit. So please follow up with those customers and get their returns submitted. Sir, how do we rectify the mismatches due to the incorrect invoice numbers? Now see, incorrect invoice number is a very typical, kind of a problem. Generally, the GST portal will not take a duplicate invoice number. So let's say in the example that I took, let's say I have a 45 number invoice from my vendor. Now against that, vendor has shown 47 number invoice. I asked my vendor to change the invoice number. Now, if that vendor has already uploaded 45 number invoice against some another supplier, he will not be able to give me that 45 number invoice on the GST portal. He will not be able to change my invoice because GST portal will not accept duplicate entries. Okay, so either he will have to delete that 45 number invoice against some another vendor, another customer, and give me that 45 number invoice. Okay, or else he will have to issue me a fresh invoice of 47 number. That is the only solution that I can see right now. Then how to tax with respect to reverse charge mechanism in GSTR 1 and 3B. I think in GSTR 1 we are not supposed to upload any reverse charge mechanism thing. In 3B we have to. So let's say I have received services from a lawyer, and for lawyer services I will have to pay the GST under reverse charge mechanism. So what I will do, let's say in July month I received that services. So in my July GSTR 3B return, I will calculate the GST amount. Let's say the invoice was of 1 lakh rupees. I will calculate 18,000 and I will pay under reverse charge mechanism in the month of July. And in the month of August, I will claim that as an input tax credit. Okay. So in July month, I will show it as a liability. I will pay off that liability. And in the month of August, I will claim it. Now, an important aspect that we need to understand here is all the RCM liabilities have to be paid in cash. They cannot be set off against your input tax credit. So this is a very important point. All your RCM reverse charge mechanism liabilities have to be paid in cash, and you can claim that input tax credit in the subsequent month and not in the same month. So it's an important aspect that one needs to understand and remember. Again, with respect to RCM, if you are paying RCM on blocked credit, you will not be able to claim that input tax credit. Although that is now in abeyance, that rule is now in abeyance. But if you had received an input tax, if you had received services from a supplier, unregistered supplier for more than 5,000 rupees, you were earlier supposed to calculate RCM liability on that and pay that liability. Okay, and you could have claimed it in the subsequent month. But with respect to block credit, you will have to pay under RCM, but you will not be able to claim input tax credit. So again, that's an important aspect that needs to be remembered. Okay, I cannot see the questions, further questions.
I think there are so many questions, Sunilji. If we were to take them, we can go for the entire day. But yes, absolutely. I think you have answered so many of them, and in principally, we have addressed these queries in a very, very systematic, in a very nice manner. So we're really thankful to you for doing this.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Now, quickly, since I'm sure, let's take a feedback from all of us. So what we are gonna do is we're just launching a poll. Request all the students who are here today and young CAs to please participate in this poll and submit your responses towards this session. How do you feel the session today was? And I'm sure, with the amount of efforts that Sunilji has put in, all of you would have enjoyed this. We will take a quick 60 seconds. Already 40% people have voted. So this would be a break. for all of us. Also, I've seen that Sunilji was mentioning GSTR 9 is what we need to cover, and very soon we'll be announcing for that as well. And we'll come back with all the announcements. So make sure, students, one, I'll request all of you to please share these sessions that are happening if you really like them, and 2 hours of a day that you feel that can be productively utilized, and we can all train each other and we all can learn each other. I think please share these sessions throughout whoever in your groups or in your friend circle, so that maximum people can take advantage of this. They can enjoy this and they can really feel good about learning things in a new aspect. So already 80% people have voted, so I'm just closing the poll now. And so we're very happy that over 98%, no, so 92% people have shared that they've just loved this session. So 46% people have said excellent, 44% people have said good. So that's a fantastic feedback. Thank you, Sunilji. I think that's one of the best feedbacks that a speaker gets for his investment of time over here. And really, it was a fantastic show. And as I was saying, so about the next events, I would request Garv to ensure to talk about all the upcoming events. What are all the events that are lined up? So every Monday, as I said, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we all will be there for 2 hours daily, and to ensure that we do trainings on. So there's a fantastic session on due diligence, merger and acquisitions, some report drafting, some income tax and GST, and Excel, PowerPoint. All of that is coming up, and best speakers just like Sunilji was here today, they're all coming up again and again. So I request all of you, please keep a tab on the WIRC website. Please keep looking at the WIRC website. There is a section called Students Webinar. Students Webinar, you will find all the list of webinars that are coming up next. Also, there is a registration link. You have to register yourself. You will then get a link to attend the program today, and then again you'll have to register, so that we ensure that there are no unwanted people coming into our webinars and spoiling the decorum of this session. So thank you, all of you, great audience. I would request Garv to please take over and invite for vote of thanks also.
Yes. Thank you, Arpit sir, for the proceedings. And firstly, I would like to thank Sunil sir for being such a great batsman like Rohit Sharma. It was indeed having you here and doing a great opening with so many viewers with us, and imparting your knowledge upon GST with all the CA aspirants over here, and let them have the knowledge of the basic practical knowledge of GST, which was very enlightening. And we learned about so much about the GSTR 1, 2A, 3B, and also return filing and the amendments which you have told us. It was very enlightening, sir. Thanks a lot. And Vikasa is really grateful to have you here today and share your knowledge with us, and hope that you join us again some time later and in these webinars, and share your knowledge with us with the students. And also,
In
I would like
GST,
to thank. Yes, sir.
in GST, I've only taken sessions for CA students and with WIRC only.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. Also, I would like to thank all the students who have joined us and make it a successful event, because without you, sir's session wouldn't have been possible, because sir is here for you and you are there to learn. We are here to learn as students, and that is our duty, to learn and prosper ahead. Also, with regards to the upcoming events, Vikasa is lined up with various events on MS Excel, mergers and acquisitions, due diligence, tally, and also on internal audit reporting, internal audit report making. And also we have webinars on mental stress and how to prepare for your exams. These are all lined up from, it started today. Today was the first session, and the last session will be on 7th of September, only for 2 hours. And it is alternate days. So we request, as Vikasa member, the chairperson, I request you that you all join us, because we are making these efforts so that as a student community we learn. And by my closing remarks, I would like to say that Vikasa is for the students, of and by the students. Also, the Vikasa motive is to connect, learn, and prosper. Connect, learn, and prosper. So let's do this together and let us make this institute proud of us, and let us ourselves be proud of to be part of this institute. Thank you so much. Thank you,
Thanks,
Sunil sir.
Gaurav. Thanks, Gaurav. Thank you, Divyansh. Thank you, Sunilji, once again. And thank you, Vikasa Chairman Hitesh Bhai, for allowing us to do these sessions, and the WRC Chairman Lalit Bajaj sir for giving us a fantastic platform to connect to all the individuals and do this in a very effective manner. Also, I would like to thank Mishra ji, who's handled the entire platform, Subhash and Vijay Gaikwad, who's one of the most important face of students in ICI in WIRC. So thank you everyone, and see you tomorrow. See you on Wednesday for a very fantastic session next. Please register in good numbers. Share this if you like it today. Share this amongst your friends, and let's make this as a very good learning exercise. Thank you. Have a great time. Stay safe. Mishra ji, please please.